So a while back, I did a series where I reviewed individually every single video game movie ever made. This series was originally enough called My Video Game Movie Review Series. And I completed that series that took me oh so long to do. And they keep fucking releasing these damn things. So here's another one. The completionist in me won't let me stop. Uncharted is brought to us by director Ruben Fleischer and stars Tom Spider-Man Holland, Mark Wahlberg, and Antonio Puss in Boots Banderas. Street smart Nathan Drake is recruited by seasoned treasure hunter Victor Sully Sullivan to recover a fortune amassed by Ferdinand Magellan and lost 500 years ago by the House of Mancada. So Uncharted is the latest film adaptation of a long-running popular video game series. Now, full disclosure here, I play a lot of video games, but for some odd reason, even though the Uncharted series seems like it would be a series I would really be down with, I've never played any of them. It's been one of those series that I've always said that I was going to catch up on, but I never did. I am fully aware of the series. I know who Nathan Drake is. I got a pretty good idea of what the series is all about, but as far as like little details and getting any type of like in references in this movie, I don't know because I'm not familiar enough with the property. However, that shouldn't matter because we're watching a movie, and even though this is an adaptation of the game series, I should be able to enjoy this movie just on its own merits, regardless of what knowledge I have of the game series. So what I'm trying to say here is going into this thing, I'm going in pretty blind. Now, this movie's an adventure movie, very much in the vein of something like Tomb Raider. But even more so than that, it fancies itself a modern-day Indiana Jones. Hell, they even dropped the name Indiana Jones at one point in the movie. And I love Indiana Jones, and I love Tomb Raider, the games at least, so this seems like a match made in heaven. However, it's more like a modern-day Indiana Jones wannabe. Kind of like National Treasure. Remember that movie with Nicolas Cage? This movie is very National Treasure. And much like that movie, there were things about this movie that I liked, and then there were things that I was just kind of First off, the movie has an adventurous feel. It has a really nice tone. I enjoyed the fast pace of it all. It doesn't spend a whole lot of time dragging its feet. It jumps right into things. Whether you're gonna be into the things that it jumps right into, though, is gonna depend on the person, I guess. Me, myself, I was having a fairly enjoyable time with it. This movie didn't blow my mind or anything, but I had a pretty good time. The adventure we go on here, we've probably seen about 250,000 times at this point, but it's more about the adventure that takes place on this greater adventure. That's what really sells us on a movie like this. And the movie never totally falls on its face or anything, but I didn't ever feel like it really soared either. The movie is very middle of the road. It never does anything to really differentiate itself from everything that came before it. It's not bad. I was reasonably entertained the whole time, but I was never really wowed. There's nothing about this that is really gonna stand out in my mind. Now, one of the things that really makes these adventure style stories pop would be the character. Indiana Jones has Indiana Jones. Tomb Raider has Lara Croft. And National Treasures has, well, National Treasure had Nick Cage and, you know. And Uncharted has Nathan Drake, which is a very well-known personality in the video game world. However, Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, he's not bad, but he's just kind of unremarkable. I didn't mind him in the part, but much like the story that's told here, there's nothing about him that really stands out. I never really believed him as this character, and that's not going off of some preordained notion I had coming into it, because my knowledge of Nathan Drake and what he's all about is very pedestrian. I was judging this character off what the movie presented me, and that is it. And what it presented me was a fairly unmemorable character. Mark Wahlberg's Sully is a bit more memorable, but a lot of that comes from Mark Wahlberg's natural charisma. It's not like the writing really shone through the characters here or anything. I mean, once again, it's not bad, but it is, like everything else, just kind of unremarkable. Everybody else in the movie is just kind of forgettable, which I'll give the movie a pass on that, because in these types of adventure movies, all the other characters besides a few mains are typically kind of forgettable. They're kind of like cannon fodder, if you will. I don't knock those movies for it, so I guess I'm not gonna knock this one for it either. I will say that it does stick out a bit more with a movie like this because our main character characters are fairly unremarkable as well. So that means there's no character that the movie can hinge on. There's nothing to remember about it, so you really notice how everybody's just pretty unremarkable and just kind of there. Once again, I'm not saying anybody was necessarily bad, but nobody really stood out either. Special effects wise, I mean, the movie looks good. This is a multi-$100 million movie. You're getting what you expect, so yeah, it looks good all around. The final act of the movie does include a lot more special effects than the rest of it, and they all look pretty good. The action is all well done, everything looks good, everybody looks good. And while I did enjoy these scenes, honestly, they probably would have been a bit more remarkable had the movie they were included in been a bit more memorable up to this point. Guys, Uncharted was an enjoyable time while you're watching it. Is it one of the best video game movies ever made? No, it's not. Is it up there with the best? No, not really that either, but it is up there with the good ones. The movie is enjoyable as a whole, everything looks good, and all the performers were game. And while I was reasonably entertained by it as I was watching it, overall, it was fairly unmemorable. Did it do what it set out to do? Sure, maybe, but this isn't gonna be one we're gonna be talking about for years to come. And as it stands, as far as video game movies go, while it may not be the best, it is definitely worth checking out on streaming.
Across the street.
If you're a fan of Uncharted, then you might find something a bit more in this than I did. And if so, then that's great. I hope you have a great time with it. But for everybody else, it's just gonna be fine. So there it is, guys, my review of Uncharted. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below and become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits that go along with that, like these guys. And possibly join my top tier and become a bad motherfucker like my man Greg C and Dragon Khan. If you like video games or you just want to see me play them badly, then check out my new gaming channel, Jag. Link in the description, any support is appreciated. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Morocco. Now there is a cameo in this movie. I'm not gonna ruin it, but it is someone who plays a voice in the Uncharted series. And while I've never played Uncharted and I don't really know all of its lore, I do know this particular person and I know they voiced this character. So when he showed up and he said what he had to say, I thought that was pretty good. In fact, this was probably the most entertaining part of the movie for me personally. There may have been a whole bunch of other in-jokes and references to the game that I just didn't get, but this particular one I did, and I thought that shit was funny as hell. Now the fact that I, not even really knowing much about this series, found this part to be the most entertaining and funny part of the movie, well, that's an entirely different issue.